June is Audiobook Month. Join Viviana, the Enchantress of Books, and the Audiobook Lovin Series as she celebrates the authors and narrators who bring your favorite stories to life.
Hi everyone, welcome to Season 11, Episode 2 of the Audiobook Lovin Series 2025. Today we're doing a rewind back to 2015, aka the inaugural year of the series. Kelly and I were, we were such babies back then. It was really interesting to kind of go back, and I was like, do I really want to do this? Because, you over criticize yourself and how things were done, and you're like, I wish I could have done this over. But the good news is in 11 years, we have gotten so much better with the technology, with the questions, with feeling comfortable in our own bodies to be able to ask questions that are, part of the gig, as well as the industry and what listeners want to hear. So we're going to go back, as I said, to 2015, and our guest that year and that day was author Darynda Jones. Since then, Darynda has become a regular guest and has had multiple appearances on the podcast as well as the series. She's been a favorite of ours, and at the time was one of our favorite authors back in 2015. And we were like, I remember having that conversation, like, who are we going to invite to be part of this crazy thing we're doing, a month-long series? And we both looked at each other and we go, Darynda Jones. Of course, Darynda Jones. Why? I mean, like, hello. And we love her books, her snark and her sass and the world she's created, from the Charley Davidson series to all the other ones that she's written. It's just someone that you dive in and you're watching a movie and sometimes maybe even partaking and like, oh no, she didn't say that. I'm like, hey, can I have a margarita too? If you have not read any of Darynda's books, I recommend that you start with the Charley Davidson series. The first title is called First Grave on the Right. And not only is it fantastic writing and storytelling, but also, these titles are freaking fabulous. But I love the chapters. Oh my God. These chapter titles are so freaking creative. And you kind of just want to make posters and t-shirts out of 99.9% of them. Well, start reading. You'll know what I'm talking about. All right. Without further ado, I'm inserting the interview here, and I will see you guys back in a few. This hangout is now live.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Kelly from Books and Kisses and Viviana from Enchantress of Books, and we are interviewing the very awesome Darynda Jones for our Audiobook Lovin Series. We hope you enjoy it. Hi, Darynda.
Hi, guys.
Hi, everybody. Darynda, we're totally excited to have you here today with us today, so welcome.
It's good to be here.
Thanks. Well, we are so happy that you're here with us and hanging out with us today. Throughout the entire process of the Audiobook Lovin Series, we have learned that that some authors have been heavily involved in the process of selecting and the whole process throughout the audiobook recordings, and some authors have been totally MIA. Can you let us know how your process has been for your audiobooks?
I'm not involved much at all. I will say that, they kind of let me know that they were getting Lorelei King and everything, and I was quite excited, to say the least. But the most I'm involved is like Lorelei will ask me how to pronounce names or something. That's about it. Yeah, but it's great. It's great just getting her feedback, so it's fun.
Okay. So have you listened to her read the books and narrations?
I listened to the first one all the way through, and then I listened to a lot of snippets here and there. I will say that I have, I don't read my own books once they're published because all I read is mistakes. And kind of the same whenever, even with the audiobooks, I'm so amazed at how Lorelei makes me sound like this wonderful author, and I'm like, because all I hear, even with her doing it, is just mistakes. I just hear mistake after mistake. I'm like, oh my God. I do listen to a lot of the snippets though, and she's just so amazing. I feel really guilty for not listening to them more than I do, but yeah, I'm kind of horrified by my writing quite often.
No, well,
Well, we're laughing because we love your books, and we're always going, you need to write faster, you need to get through it, because we love them and we devour your books. So to hear that you think that there are mistakes here, we're going, no, they're not. They're perfect.
Well, thank you.
Well, see, I have read your books and then I devour them because you speed read and they're so good that you're going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and you're reading them. And so again, I speed read, and with audiobooks you kind of have to slow down the pace because you can't skim. Someone's reading it to you, so you're at their pace, and you can't skip ahead. There's just none of that happening. You get a bunch of more details that way that you may have missed,
right?
Which is one of the reasons why I love audiobook books that way, because you're forced to slow down. Are the voices that when you were writing the books, the voices that you heard in your head for the characters more or less the same from what you're hearing Lorelai's interpretation?
I think Lorelai's Charley is so amazingly perfect because she's kind of husky and sexy, and oh my god, I love her Charley. I even love her Reyes. It's hard for a woman to do it. It's just like, man, she's got him down. The only one that I did not see her that way, but now I do, is Cookie. So now when I write Cookie, I totally hear Lorelai, because I'm like, oh my god, she came up with the most incredible voice for her, and it's just so perfect and just so hilarious, and just I adore it. I adore her version of Cookie.
That's true. Kelly, you want to ask the next question? Where are we at? All right, we just talked about Reyes. I got distracted. Yeah. Well, it was talking about Reyes. Yeah. I was having visions in my head. As a writer, you have different, you have audiobooks, you have paper books, all different versions of books. What is it that you like about the audiobooks for your fans?
Well, first of all, I love audiobooks, and I've loved audiobooks for years now, because I do a lot of traveling, and they're just awesome to, put in the player. Also, it just helps me kind of keep up with my reading because I don't have as much time to read as I used to, which, used to be days at a time compared to now, like, a few minutes at a time. And so I just love them. To me, some people are like, oh, well, it's cheating if you're listening to the audiobook. No, it's not cheating. You're still getting literature. You're still reading just because it's not on the paper, on the page, I love them. I always have.
Me too. Yeah. I will say that it's more convenient now than it was back in the day when you had to have books on tape and you're traveling down the road and you had to find tape number 2 and it fell on the floorboard or,
Oh, yes. I remember the day, sister.
Yeah. The best. Yeah. And I think on some audiobooks, you kind of have to be careful what books you're listening to in mixed company.
That's very true. That's very true.
I've heard stories. That's happened to me a few times. Yeah, you can't find the pause button quick enough. Nope. Then you got to explain to your 12-year-old daughter what that particular action was for, and you're going, no, we're not having this conversation right now, sweetie. No, we're not. Yes. No. But I know it's hilarious. Now I can laugh about it. At the moment, we're going, not having this conversation. No. But you currently have 2 series, speaking of 12-year-old daughters in one case. You have the Charley Davidson Series, which is, currently 8 books have been published. And I know that you're finalizing book number 9. Yeah. And then you have the Dark Light series, which is your YA series, which is why I'm saying 12-year-old. And that one's the trilogy.
Yes.
Okay. And both were narrated by Lorelai. Is that something that you asked for her to be in both, the narrator for both, or how did that process go about? Or,
basically, talking to Lorelai, and she found out that I think I told her that I had the young adult series coming out and everything, and I told her because the heroine in the Dark Light trilogy is named after her. It was this bizarre set of circumstances. I was having dinner with my agent, and we were going over names, and we started talking about Lorelai, and my agent was like, oh, that name's perfect, you should go with that. So my heroine is named after her, and so she was like very intrigued by that, and I think my producer, Nancy, wrote me, and she said, what would you think about Lorelai doing the young adult ones too? And I was like, oh my God, that'd be so awesome. But I just had no idea. I knew she was talented. We all know she's talented. She's amazing. But when I heard the first book in that, she's amazing. Like, she sounds like a teenage girl. She's just, so she goes from Charley, this kind of husky, sexy thing, to this teenage girl, and she's adorable, and she does the voices so fantastic, and I was so impressed. I was just really impressed.
Yeah, and I listened to both series, and I know it's Lorelai, I know it's her, and it's almost like I'm hearing a 12-year-old version of her, maybe, or rather a teenage version of her, and I'm going, oh, it's kind of cool that I get to hear, she just does a great job. It really is awesome. So when I found out that you were doing the YA, I was like, oh, I wonder if she's going to do the one, too, for the audiobooks. You become a fangirl of the narrator as well. So you're going, yay, when you find out. So, Kelly, do you want to ask the next question, or do you want me to?
Go for it.
All right. So in previous interviews that we've seen you in, or in conversations that Kelly and I have had with you, regarding, the series or Lorelai, you are actually, as we just saw you, completely fangirl over her. But you actually, it's a genuine. I mean, you have a spark in your eye when you talk about her, and you actually believe that, in the audiobook books as well. What is it about, this whole process that you love about Audible books, and that you like about them so much, besides the fact that there's another, I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit because I'm losing, I'm talking to Darynda. I mean, we're both, Kelly and I have had this series going on for a little while. We're like in week 3, I think it is. Yeah. And it's still kind of dawns on us. We check each other on the emails, and so people that have been following us, we check each other on Facebook, and we're going, hey, did we get this post, and did we get this, and we're like, hey, who are we talking to today, and everything. And we still have these moments where, like, oh my God, we're talking to Darynda, or hey, we have this interview coming, and people are like, oh, you have this, and that. We're still fans. I mean, we're still fans.
I am too. With you.
So it's like, it doesn't change the fact that we still have our fangirl moments and stuff like that. So I apologize. I'm going off script here. Sorry. So going back on script. So you have Lorelai for these 2 series, and we know that you have had other short novellas and short stories that you're working on, and I know that sooner or later you're going to have other series and other books coming out, and sooner or later those are going to be in audiobooks. Have you had thoughts about other narrators that are going to be maybe thinking about, or wish lists? Males, females?
I do love I do have a handful of narrators that I absolutely love, and some that I listen to I'll listen to just because they recorded it, But as far as my stuff, I hadn't really thought about it. I think I just kind of assumed that Lorelai would be there forever. You just have my back and I'll do that for you. Okay. I hadn't really thought about it. It is funny because I'm putting out a Reyes point of view novella. It's coming out in probably around November-ish. And I doubt they're actually going to do, and it's not going to be in print, so I doubt they're going to be in audiobook. But then you got to wonder if Lorelai would be okay with doing like an entire novella, though, from Reyes' point of view. She'd be like, I got to
talk to her about that.
Dang it, why didn't I know that before? I would have asked for that.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm sure the three of us can email her and say, "Hi, Lorelai."
Very true. See, and then she can put a bug in the producer's ear, and then make it think about, you never know. It could happen.
I mean, get a petition started, a thunderclap. I mean, there's so many options.
Yes. Oh, baby.
But so you mentioned that you do have narrators that you listen to. Who are some of your favorites?
Oh my gosh! Every time people ask me this, I just draw a blank. Okay, I love. I can think of the books that they've done, but I can't think of their name. I love Chavia Gilbert. I love. What's his name? Dale. Harry. Oh, that's okay. He does the Harry Potter. You know who I'm talking about? Jim Dale. I love Jim Dale. I love Johnny Heller. I think he's hilarious. I love the girl who did. I can't remember her name. She did. Presley Cole's The Poison Princess. She was fantastic. There's so many. What's is that two of my favorite audiobooks were narrated by men, but they're female audiobooks. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know, but actually, mostly I listen to women. But for some reason, and one of them, I can't remember. Actually, I think both of them were Sandra Brown's. Two of my favorite audiobooks were Sandra Brown's. One was Envy.
Sorry. It's Father's Day, and my dad is finally texting me back.
Dad, you're talking.
It's okay. I ramble. She's getting called. It's not a problem. We're human.
I got my dog under the desk nudging me, wanting attention, so I'm trying to push her away.
That's why I put my outside.
The other audiobook that I loved was, believe it or not, you're too young for this, but you remember The Dukes of Hazzard, the show The Dukes of Hazzard?
Watched it all the time.
Okay, the dark-haired one. What's his name? Wopat, Tom Wopat.
Yeah.
He actually recorded a Sandra Brown book, and he was awesome. I thought it was so good. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But yeah. Oddly enough.
One of the first books that I started listening to when I started listening to audiobooks again was The Night Circus and Jim Dale.
Yeah, that's right. I did too. I listened to that. Yeah.
It was so good. It was like, when you're a kid and your dad reads you a bedtime story, that's how it felt. Like listening to that story, with Jim Dale reading it was like, okay, now I need to go put my pajamas on and get ready to go to bed because I gotta listen to my story, which doesn't work very well when you're driving to work. But
he's amazing. He's just incredible. But,
yeah, he is. Have you ever found sometimes you go to pick up a book and it's not grabbing you, but then you listen to the audiobook and you are able to finally get into the story, or vice versa. I've had it where I've listened to the audiobook for one reason or another, I didn't care for it, and I'm afraid now to pick up the book because I'm afraid I'm going to have that bad juju or something.
Absolutely. I've done it both ways. I've started an audiobook and didn't really get into it and everything, and I thought, but everybody's raving about this book. It must be me. So then I'll pick the book up, and it's fantastic. So I don't know. Was I having a bad day? Was it? I mean, you just never know. One of the ones that I had problems with was I couldn't get into Gone Girl, and I picked it up a couple of times, and I was just like, oh, okay. And I think when I finally got the audiobook and I started listening to the audiobook, I finally got into it and listened to the whole thing. And she did I can't remember who the narrator was, but she did a fantastic job. So yeah, absolutely. I've done that both ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Viv?
Okay. One of the questions that we've been asking our guests is that if you would tell someone that has never picked up an audiobook before, what would you tell them for them to try?
Which audiobook to try?
No, to get them to try an audiobook. What would you say to get them to try? Sorry.
I would say that I would just tell them, just to give it a try. But one of the things that throw people off is because it's such a different mental process that a lot of people, they're like, oh, I can't get into audiobooks. You have to almost kind of learn to process things auditorially that way instead of reading them, you know. And once you learn, though, oh my God, it's like a 4-hour trip is 10 minutes because you're listening to an audiobook. Time flies. You clean house for 3 hours and it takes you 5 minutes in your head because you've been listening to an audiobook. And so it's just so rewarding because it's like you're multitasking, you know. You're getting your reading in and you're getting other work done. And so that's what I say. Just give it a chance, but give it a good chance. You know, listen to an entire book and try to get through it. And once, by the time you're at the end, it's going to be second nature, and you're just going to be processing that seeing it like a movie in your head. So,
right. Yeah, we were interviewing one of our narrators that we had on the blog, and we were talking about that. And I'm guilty of driving to work and forgetting that I was driving to work sometimes. I show up at the office, I'm like, oh, I hope I stopped at the stoplights.
Exactly. Yeah, you forget. You're like, did I even go through that town? I had to have.
Right. One of my best stories that I like to share is I was listening to an audiobook while I was training for my first half marathon, and they got to a part in the scene where it was a very emotional part, and they were my two favorite characters out of this book. And I'm out on a country road on a 7-mile run, and I literally had to stop running because I was crying so hard. I had to sit down on the side of the road and collect myself. And I actually had people stop because they thought there was something seriously wrong. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm just listening to a book. Go on without me.
Oh, she's one of those. Okay.
Yeah, it was. I am a crier with books, and this was like, it was. I had to sit on the side of the road. Really ruined my time for my run, but that's when I kind of decided that I can't listen to really emotional books while I'm running because it doesn't work very well. But
Yeah.
you do get lost in the story. I know that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. And I had a moment too recently at the day job where it's cubicle world, and the cubicles are not the tall ones; they're the short middle wall ones. And I'm typing away and everything, and the characters are talking, and one of them was being a smartass and sassiness, and just said something really hysterical, and I busted out laughing.
Oh yeah.
No one's around me. They know I'm here by myself, but everybody's around me in their own cubicles. And my leader, my boss, walks out and goes, "What's so funny?" I go, "Sorry, audiobook." It's okay.
Yeah.
It happens. They're like, okay. They just want to make sure you're not, having conversations by yourself. I'm like, no, I'm not there yet. So,
Yeah.
it happens.
Very cool. Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. Or staring at a screen because it's just a good scene, and you're going, "Oh, spreadsheet."
Back to work.
Back to work.
I wish my office manager would leave me alone so I could listen to audiobooks while I'm working. It always bugs me.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of work will get done though, so that's the problem.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much for being part of our series, Darynda. We love your books, and thank you so much.
I love you guys.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh wait, we're still live.
Yeah, we're still live. Hold on.
Is this where we start doing funny things and being all impromptu and getting close to the camera and scaring
No,
the
we're
fans?
still live. Hold on. Hangout. That used to be Google's go-to video call, meetings and stuff, which then became Google Meets. And then by that point, we were then it was Skype. That's right. We were then starting to use Skype. And I did a couple of other things that I found ways to be able to record via phone because there was different platforms and here and there. And then fast forward, we now use Zoom to record things. Heck, Mia, look, back then we didn't even have an intro, okay? It's just one of those things where we're like, hey, we're here. What you doing? I do miss having a co-host with Kelly. It's just, literally, it's like two best friends hanging out and talking to some of their favorite people. I mean, like, come on. But man, adulting. It was fun while it lasted with her. She and I are still the best of friends. We talk all the time. I still try to convince her to come back. And it's like, Viv, business, adulting. And I'm like, fine, we just got to win the lottery then, I guess. Oh, well. Thank you, Darynda, for always supporting the series, the podcast, us, Kelly and I, and now me, and for being part of this series, Audiobook Lovin Series, and the whole rewind segment that we're doing. Make sure to follow Darynda on their social media if you have yet to do so. If you're not following them on their socials, we will be including their links on the episode's post over at Viviana Enchantress of Books. We're also going to include the link to the original chat that we had and also the video itself, because we did do video back then in order to do the hangouts. It's over on YouTube, and we'll include that stuff too. Everyone, thank you for hanging out with us today, and we hope you've enjoyed this chat as well as this series. Until next time, happy listenings.
If you enjoyed the Audiobook Lovin series and you want more, join the Audiobook Lovin podcast Patreon for early access to podcasts, exclusive content like the Would You Rather game and dinner party guests, and additional incentives such as bloopers, graphics, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobooklovin. Thank you for joining Viviana and her guests for this podcast, and we hope you tune in again as we continue to celebrate Audiobook Month. The Audiobook Lovin Series is hosted by Viviana, the Enchantress of Books. Please make sure to visit the main page linked within the post to learn more about the entire Audiobook Lovin Series and the enchanting author and narrator guests who have joined us over the years. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving a review wherever you listened. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you have enjoyed this program.